Hello and welcome to Idaho RC. Today I'm going to start building my SCX10 Pro. So I'm pretty excited about this one. There's a lot of new features on this chassis. Actually kind of reminds me of the Toyzuki chassis. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Start by opening up the manual here. I might have peeked earlier, but there's the manual, and then also in the bag, not to lose, is your servo arm hardware, so, and stickers, of course. So just kind of flip through the manual here, and we're starting with the axles, which is what I was hoping for, because I'm really curious about the new design on the axles here. I'm going to empty out some of this thing. It says grab bag A1. There it is there. So when I was doing a unboxing video on this, I said that I thought these were steel, but unfortunately they're not. They are aluminum, which is good, but I personally would have preferred a steel. Of course, the problem with manufacturing steel is you're either going to just use regular steel, which is inexpensive. You can use stainless steel, but it's extremely expensive. You could use bronze, but again, it's even more expensive. We got some red thread lock here, grease. So this is the weight that I felt. The reason I thought the axles were steel. Let me sharpen my knife. Getting dull there. So this is what I've been wanting to see here. So you've got the universals here, long and a short. So it's a offset pumpkin in the front, same length, center pumpkin in the back. These are the greasy parts. Those are steel. I need to find myself a magnet. I'm thinking these are steel. Hang on a second. I'm going to grab myself a magnet, get resituated here. Oh my goodness, those are steel. That is cool. We got the axle housings are steel. So we got, it's like 3 that are the same length. Interesting. The diff gears, lockers. Alright, let's get into the plastics here. Alright, so we got a couple diffs. Looks like it's a high pinion. That's good. I like the high pinion. Got the diff covers. Those must be the coupler or something. Oh wow, what is that? I don't know, get into the instructions, find out what that is. Maybe, oh, this is the links. Probably steering link. I don't know. I'm curious. Gotta figure this out here. It says to start. Get your hardware out. gears. And grab this guy. I'll just do the set at the same time. We need that guy. Let's just dump this out. Alright, so we need those, or not those yet. Need those. Oh, this is the other shaft. That's the other side of the front. Alright, so now we need hardware. Just going to use their grease and their thread locker. Did bring up some grease and thread locker, but I'm just going to do the stock build, I guess, here. So something that's kind of nice about Axial's books, and a lot of the companies do it, but if you're ever wondering about the hardware that it's pointing out here, the pictures are to scale at the top there, and you can put your bolt on it, and it is the same size. So that is the size we need. Same with the bearing there. Six of these. Okay. And then we grab that, and we grab this, and put it on this side. Line up the holes, and then set that like that. Get out the thread locker. I'm going to grab one of these guys, take it to my Allen's. Let's see what size it is here. We have a winner. It is the 1.5 millimeter. Yep. That on like that. Kind of give it a hold. See if I can do this without making a mess. Dab there. Trying to see what I'm doing here. Get the little holes lined up, get one started. If you're new to assembling anything, always get your threads started on all the bolts before you tighten them all down. We have a lot of people new to RCs and are new to building really much. So it's a good tip, and everything should be real easy to turn. If it's not turning really easy, it's probably cross-threaded, and back it off backwards and then go back in. So we have two in there loose. See, I went backwards and then it clicked into place and then it went forwards. It's a little trick for the newbies. You might also notice I'm kind of doing a pattern here. If I'm doing anything mechanical, generally it's good to kind of a cross pattern. So I started with this one, I went to that one, and this one, then I'll go to that one, and that one. It's not really important while I'm just putting them in there loose. When you tighten things, it's a good habit to get into. It really probably doesn't matter, this little thing. Little tricks that people always assume everybody knows already. So they're all in there loose. I'm going to run this one down just barely tight. Then this one, and this one. And that one. Feels like it's pulling it down. A little bit of a press fit almost there. Probably not. I'm probably just a little bit crooked. Let's see how the first ones I tightened are loose now. So that means that they pulled it together. Go back through. Snug them all down again. So just gonna get them good and tight. Alright. Ta-da! Then do that times 2. Next step, they are telling me to grab this one. There is a little difference between the two with this ear here. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is the top link. No, that'd be the bottom link. I don't know, I'll have to find out how it goes, but assume this is for the front and this is probably for the 4-link in the back. So yeah, it says to grab the front one. So it looks like the bearings that are not sealed, the unsealed bearings, go on right on the diff. Well, it's not a diff because it's locked, but you know what I mean. Those guys on there. We got to put, let's see, this guy, that guy, that guy. Alright, so we're supposed to use, let's clear some space, got a mess going on here. Okay, so those are the sizes we need. We're going to need, assuming 4, yep, 4 of those. Yep, like that. So then put this guy on like that. You drop that in the front. That is incorrect. Incorrect. So you put the big one on right there. And this one, it should just kind of press in. There you go. And then the smaller one goes on this side. There we go. And then there's your pinion. Put some black grease. Alright, so we got the bearings on there. We're going to just put a decent amount around it here. A lot of guys like to use marine grease. figure it keeps the water out better. Just a heads up for you guys buying waterproof trucks. The bearings are not waterproof, they will rust. So just keep that in mind. Huh. It is not telling me to grease those bearings that are not sealed. And I think I'm going to just do it. I'm going to pull this back out. I think that's what's going to happen. I'd rather have a little bit of grease than nothing in my bearings. Alright. Yep. It says put the cover on. Rotating pretty well. So then we've got these guys and no washers, just those. Take this guy and see what size. See what size we're dealing with here. That's it. It's a winner. That is the 2mm or 5/64 for us Americans. When I first started, there was a gap right in through here, and it is pulling it closed. So of course, we want to go corner to corner. All right, do that times 2. The manual will show you, but anytime you put a bolt or a screw into metal like steel or aluminum, you want Loctite on it. But when you put it into plastic, you don't put Loctite on it. So these are just going into the plastic, so there's no Loctite. A little bit of trivia for you guys out there. Difference between a screw and a bolt is how it's used. It's not actually what it is. So these are technically socket head cap screws. These guys here is what they're called, and we are using them like a screw. So if you put a nut on it, it's a bolt. If you put it into a threaded part, it's a screw. Just a little machinist trivia there for you. Of course, everybody calls, like a regular hex bolt, it's a bolt, right? Even though you know the terminology, it always doesn't. At the hardware store, the kid behind the counter is not going to understand that, so I just use regular words like everybody understands. Ask them for screws, they'll probably take you to the wood screws. Alright, so those are done. We have 2 of these now. Alright, so now it's saying to grab this guy. And this one. Okay, so we got a flat there. Looks like it slides right. It's a pretty tight fit. Ooh. Might have to give it a little taparoo. Tap, tap, taparoo. Alright, so that weird piece I was looking at earlier, this guy. Interesting. So it's saying that it goes on like that. Oh, it must go through one of these. Okay. On the shaft. Alright, so now we got the set screws. It's pretty late. I'm getting a little tired. So the little set screws are 1.5s again. Okay, you guys, I just set up this for chassis mounted servo. If I was to do axle mounted servo, I would have wanted to put on, looks like one of these instead of this guy. Okay, so I've been thinking about maybe doing an axle mounted servo, since this is less scale. It's sort of scale, but less scale, more comp driven. If there's enough room between the frame rails, it'd be kind of nice to have that servo on the axle. But we'll see if I change this out or leave it how it is. Put that guy there, and then turn the page. Grab these guys. No. Yes. This guy. Oh, and it's got an R on this guy. So that presumes I know which way's up, which is the pinion is high, so we know this is up. And the lower links are low. Okay, this is starting to look right. And that would be for your panhard. Yeah. So that means this is the right side. So it'll be like that. Like that. Alright, well, we'll just follow the instructions here. I have the right side. So this is going to be the long shaft. It says 2 of each of those size. So we got that. Let me stick it into there. Press it in. And press this guy in. Alright. And then it says to put on, this one's the right side. So it's saying that this little nub goes on the same side as these guys. So it would be like that. And then it says to use these guys through here. Get the holes all lined up through. Alright, so it says to do that. And short one goes in there. This guy goes here. Just like that. Here we are again. Our battery died in the camera, and I'm just resetting up a little bit here. So next thing is put the bearings in the end there. Then we put the shaft through. And don't force it. Just give it, rotate this a little bit until it fits. And it's the wrong direction, so we spin it around. And when you're looking at it, it'll be clocked. So this is looking at it upside up, and so the pivot point will be kicked back on an angle. This helps you with your steering, and for your outside tire to not tuck under, because it keeps it kind of leaned back as it turns. So it's actually good like that. And we can get our little screws here. And like that. Another one on this side. Do the other side, same way. Oh, bearing. You put the bearing, don't forget the bearing. There we go. So, goes in there. So again, don't force it, rotate the axle, see if it's off, rotate it until it falls into place. And then line up the screw hole right there. Screws in there. Alright. So this is how you build the axle for the chassis mounted servo. Now the rear, did it off camera, unfortunately, but it's pretty self-explanatory how you put this together. You know, don't forget the bearing in the end there. Put the screws on just like these ones. It all goes together pretty much the same. Just have these where you attach your lower links, and yeah, it's pretty much the same as that one. So now what I actually want to do is I wanted an axle mounted servo. Turn the page back over here. So the instructions. So CMS is chassis mounted servo, and AMS is axle mounted servo. So these are the instructions for the axle mounted servo. So it looks like it's all the same, except you won't have this piece on here because you'll be doing a 4-link instead of the Hansbro's 3-link with the panhard. So this piece I'm going to take back off, and looks like my pictures that this one will replace it, and it has this hole sticking up where I'll be able to attach this plate for the chassis mounted or the axle mounted servo. So let's take that back apart here. So now I want this guy on there. And let's see, what are the odds I just stuck that on there the right way? Let's check with the book. So, axle sits this way in the book. Bearing fell out. Oh, it's in the shaft there. So this goes on, and I've got it on upside down. There we go. So it goes on like that. So you have this hole up. You hook up the links is back, and it goes on like that. So now put this back together. Probably all this assembling and disassembling is probably not real great for it, but it's okay. So that's in like that. So now I want to go back to the other page. So we're assembling this. So we got this thing here. And appears to go on that hole, that hole, and that hole with these two, and then that one. Like that. What I really want to know is, do I need to attach the servo before I put this plate on? It kind of looks like I do. Well, let's get my servo out. For this build, I'm using a SCX. It is the SA1231 SG. Has 444 ounces of torque at, what, 6 volts, I think? Kind of dark in here. My old eyes are failing, but I think that's what it is. But decent amount of torque. It's not crazy, but for what I'm doing, it's going to be just fine. Something to note on this particular servo is it's generally taller than most servos. So what I'm wondering is, do I need to put it on this way? How are we doing this here? Looks like it's saying that it goes upright. Interesting. Does it hang beside the axle? Well, let's wedge that in there and find out. Oh my goodness. Talk about getting the weight low. The servo sits down below. And I've got a really tall one, so it's quite a bit below the axle there. That's probably going to drag some. Okay, well, I'm going to go with this for now. But it's looking kind of like I might want to rethink my servo selection. Even a short body might be better. Keep that in mind when you're buying a servo, you guys. But it does look like I can put on this plate and change out the servo and install it. So I'm going to leave it off just in case I have second thoughts before I install this servo here. So it says to use these two for the... Now, I know your grandpa told you what a flathead screw is a slotted head. But this, with a tapered head, is also called a flathead. It doesn't have to do with the drive, it has to do with the shape of the head, and it's because it goes flat with the surface. Another little bit of trivia there for you, but technically a flathead screw. So goes like that, and then one of these guys right there goes right here in that hole. Let's do this one first for funsies. Looks like it's going to have to kind of thread into this a little bit. So that one gets started. Again, we're going to start all the screws before we tighten anything. So again, stick it on there, rotate the axle until it goes in gently. So you don't want to force things. My Uncle John would say the only one that's allowed to use a hammer is the guy who knows enough not to use a hammer, which was his excuse to say he can use your hammer, but we couldn't. We were doing mechanicking out in his shop there. Oh, that's gone. Oh no. Alright, there's my front axle with the axle mounted servo. Yeah, that is definitely something to note though, is how far this sticks down below there. I am curious as to how all this link's going to go together. So anyways, thanks for joining me with this video, how to build the axles, building them with me. And as always, keep the rubber side down, you guys.